The goal of this podcast is to help you break in and thrive in advertising and marketing. We do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. And this is our brand side segment, meaning we're talking with brand leaders, marketing folks. So we have a very special guest for you all today. We're welcoming Jenny Danzi. Jenny is the head of Pepsi Brand Marketing. And over the next 45 minutes, we'll dive into Jenny's incredible 15-year journey at PepsiCo, from her early days as a marketing analyst to now leading one of the world's most iconic brands. And I love how she talks about how Pepsi is redefining food pairings with campaigns like Food Deserves Pepsi, what it takes to craft creative strategies that drive billion-dollar results, and her advice for those looking to break into marketing. It's something that we kind of neglect. We've talked to so many agency professionals on how to break into an advertising agency. So this is really refreshing to hear from her as I'm learning along the way. She also gives insights to the agency professionals that are currently in business on how to work better with your clients. So you're going to love this episode. Jenny is fantastic. If you like what you hear, please support us by leaving a 5-star review on Apple, on Spotify, engage with us on LinkedIn. This goes a long way so we can continue to get amazing folks like Jenny on the show. You're going to love it. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Geno Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right, Jenny Danzi, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Brand Side Podcast. How are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me, Geno. Excited to be here.
Of course. Excited to have you on because you are the head of Pepsi Brand Marketing. Is that correct?
That's correct. It is my privilege to lead the Pepsi brand team. It is a lot of fun and a lot of work, and there's really no better job in the world.
Oh, well, we definitely want to explore that and what makes it so great. And I've seen some recent work launch, and I want to get into some of the creative work, some of the day-to-day of what your job looks like, and then the advice for the aspiring marketer. Maybe there's advice for the advertising professionals out there that can learn from you. So does that sound like a good flow?
That sounds great. Let's get into it.
Cool. So let's start off at the top. Understanding who is Jenny Danzi, what does it mean to be head of Pepsi Brand Marketing? So we'll start off with that. Good luck tackling that. We can workshop it too.
Who is Jenny Danzi? We might need more than the time we have. So I am a marketing executive. I've been at PepsiCo for over 15 years. I have the privilege of leading the Pepsi brand. That means that anything consumers see with the name Pepsi on it probably came through my team or one of our partners. So part of what makes it fun is that everyone knows Pepsi, everyone has an opinion on it, everyone has tried it and knows it's delicious. And so our job is to make work that keeps it top of mind and helps you think about it in the right moments and reach for it when you're looking for a tasty treat.
Gotcha. So we definitely want to understand how you got to that position, but for your day-to-day today, what are some of the general responsibilities that you oversee working with agencies potentially? If we can talk about some of those, some work that you guys have launched, what do you do today as head of Pepsi Brand Marketing?
Yes, so our job is making sure that we are leveraging creativity as a really powerful tool to drive business results. So we set brand strategies, we write brand briefs, and then we get to partner with amazing creative partners, both internally and externally at agencies, to make that strategy come to life in a really compelling way that's going to change human behavior. So right now we're doing a lot driving Pepsi and food because we know that even in a world where there are a lot of beverage options, where you could have coffee in the morning and an energy drink in the afternoon and Gatorade after a workout, there are moments, mostly with food, when nothing is going to go better than a cola, and we believe nothing better than a Pepsi. So we're doing a lot of work right now that celebrates that in a challenger spirit. And it's really fun. Everyone loves food, everyone loves Pepsi, and to be able to bring some levity to somebody's day from content is really a great joy.
This is interesting because I have a uncle that worked at Pepsi, like a delivery truck driver, distribution, supply chain. So we were not allowed to have any competitor products or speak of any competitor
Love
products
to hear that.
in the
Yes.
household whatsoever. So I grew up on Pepsi. So I love that. But I also remember talking with my cousin and some of my family members, and I think that like food pairing association like was something that I remember talking about. Like nothing goes better with a Pepsi and a sandwich. It's like if you're gonna go out to eat, like you got to have a Pepsi with a sandwich. I remember that conversation. That just like coming back to me. So is this like a new strategic initiative, or is this something you guys have been doing? Is this or revisiting? Can you elaborate on that,
That's a
or am I
great
just
question.
hallucinating?
Part of running a 125-year-old brand is that nothing is truly new, and there's a lot of heritage to pull from. I think Pepsi has always gone well with food. It was actually developed as a digestive aid in pharmacies in North Carolina. But the taste of it is something that now we can actually use breakthrough science to talk about it in a more leading edge way, even though it's always been true. And I think people have always understood it on some level. But we don't really talk about the flavor compounds in soda and how they match the flavor compounds in your favorite sandwich. So we've certainly done it before. We've got history. We've got a right to play. We've had partners like Jersey Mike's, and we're welcoming Subway into the Pepsi family next year. But now we're really focused our time and effort on telling that food pairing story to make sure that everyone is aware of it on a more conscious level.
Gotcha, gotcha. And then, so then you write that, so that looks like a brief of some sort that you're writing with your team, and you give that to an agency, and then they come up with some creative ads or brand activations that kind of deliver that message. Is that correct?
That's right. So we start with brand strategies that are 3 to 5 year plans on what we're trying to accomplish to grow the business, who we need to reach, what kind of message we think will be compelling to them. Then we turn that into a brief, and then we bring in the right partners. So right now we're working with BBDO on our food messaging. BBDO is another partner that has, historically worked with Pepsi for decades. Some of the best advertising ever created was a Pepsi BBDO partnership. And we started partnering with them again this summer. And they've developed some great food work. And I would say because the best partners will also weigh in on the strategy. So we shared a brief with them. They pushed us a bit on it. And now we've got both great creative and a great strategy that's feeding it.
Love it. Love it. I was going to ask about the 3 to 5 year planning, because I think we understand on the agency perspective, or some of our consistent listeners understand what happens once the agency gets a brief and that those processes. But I think we neglect and fail to talk about all the planning on the marketing side, the brand side that goes into creating that client brief. So can you elaborate, like, how much planning and preparation and research was done to get to this food association strategic way in, and any challenges or excitements and fun stories about getting to this or visiting this strategic way in?
Lots of excitement, even if it's all happening on PowerPoint. So part of what's
Mm-hmm.
great about PepsiCo is that we have incredible capabilities and tools throughout the organization. And so we have an amazing insights team. I get to partner every day with Kevin Mueller, who's incredible and really pushes our thinking and pushes the brand strategy. And one of those tools is this annual planning process that we take a deep dive on the business, which we just completed, and looking at which markets, which sublines, which shoppers are we winning or losing with, and how do we think we're going to turn that around? And then we try to look at what differences, what can we do differently that's going to change a human's purchase behavior. And that is something that happens not just on what's next month or what's the next 12 months, but over 3 to 5 years. How do we best set this brand and this business up for success? So it is one of my favorite parts of my job. I'm a little bit of a strategy nerd. I think there's something really satisfying about crystallizing data into a so what. And then how do you turn that data into something that's creatively exciting and creatively fertile? And so that is a lot of what we spend our brain space doing.
I need to do that with my own company. I feel like I'm
I
just
think you're
thinking
doing
about the
great,
next
Geno.
week.
You got it.
Thanks. But I feel like I'm just playing week by week, like who are we posting this week and next week.
I think it's
So
true at both work and at home. You have to begin with the end in mind. So what does success look like? What is it going to take to get there? I actually had
Mhm.
a friend who's a Pepsi alum who writes a personal annual operating plan every year to make sure that she's setting her own goals too. So I think these are tools that work both in the office and for your own career and your own life.
Exactly. And then for the aspiring marketer or advertiser, they can do this too. So you
That's
just kind of
right.
have to work backwards and figure out like
Correct.
when do you anticipate getting your first job? What is that first job? And then you kind of work backwards there. So
Yep.
that's about all the planning experience that I know. And now I'm in the industry. I got to reevaluate. So might need your help on that
That's
off the
okay. You got to
record.
leave room for some magic to happen too. Once you know what you're
Okay.
trying to accomplish, you don't want to over engineer it.
And that's what I was going to ask you next. So you did all this strategic planning, you have this thing crystallize a vision where you want to go, and then an agency might come in and say, and they might poke some holes or they might ask some questions or a slight pushback. Maybe we change it this way. So how do you kind of handle with your team and communicating back? And that there are some recommendations after all this work. How do you balance that?
So I try to instill in my team a deep respect for excellence. And on Pepsi, we get to work with the best in the business. We really do. And so I'm looking for people with an opinion and with a push. And I think their job is to add value by questioning and pushing and making sure that we're getting to a better spot. So we talk about tension in the work, but I think there should also be healthy tension between the agency and the client, even within the brand team. We should be questioning our assumptions and really looking at everything we're doing with fresh eyes. So we welcome feedback. I think it's part of the process. We build it in. We expect multiple rounds of creative. Sometimes there's a lightning inspiration and a quick yes, but even at that, you've got to build together, and there's going to be some adversity to overcome, and you want to make sure that you've built that working relationship that you can really have it out and make sure you're having the right conversations.
Totally, totally. That makes a lot of sense. I get it. Probably easier said than done. A lot of practice, probably.
It's a
Being in
skill.
the
You're right.
industry.
Like
Yeah,
anything else,
yeah,
you can build comfort with uncomfortable conversations.
totally, totally. So with this, then, what have you launched recently? Pepsi Card Chase Crew. I think I saw that. This platform of food pairing. What are some of these executions that you're really proud of, or maybe they're upcoming? If we can talk about that, but
Yeah.
would love to hear what's out there now.
So what we've been focused on this fall is Pepsi and food, and we've launched with BBDO's help our new campaign, Food Deserves Pepsi. So this is really celebrating that when you're eating something delicious, the right thing to pair it with is a Pepsi, because the Pepsi will bring out all the amazing flavors that you picked that food for. I think we've all had the experience of eating a slice of pizza and like all you have is tap water with it. It's such a bummer. Like that's not
What
what you wanted the pizza. You eat it with a
I can
Pepsi. And so we're trying to
let me guess.
celebrate. Yeah, you need
What's
this
your
is
go-to? What's your
my
go-to?
go-to is a pepperoni pizza and a diet wild cherry Pepsi. And I'm a
Okay,
Pizza
I
Hut
did my
girl.
research. I did know that. I did see that in another article. I just wanted to see if you were
Oh, I'm
consistent.
consistent.
And
I am. Let's say nothing if not consistent.
there we
So
go.
we're really excited about this work because it's embracing our challenger mindset. Pepsi has long been a challenger brand. We are in a very competitive category, and I do think these took some creative bravery. And so Chase Cars is making sure that nobody has to have their pizza without a Pepsi, and we sent delivery chase car drivers out to chase your pizza delivery and surprise people. So that content's really fun. And then we followed it up last week with Burgers Deserve Pepsi, where our chase car drivers snuck undercover cups into restaurants that don't serve Pepsi to make sure that nobody's leaving taste on the table when they're enjoying their burger. So these are, again, it's creativity driving the business. It is very much on the strategy of telling the story about how Pepsi makes food taste better, that we can do that uniquely. We can do it in a fun way. We think the content is super fun, super shareable. We've seen great results and response online. And so, it's the beginning of a journey. You're going to see more from us on Pepsi and food.
Interesting. So the first one was the pizza delivery drivers. You had the chase car driving behind, following them, and also delivering Pepsi. I thought that one was really funny when in the moment on the ad when the Pepsi chase car crew was like, that was not 30 minutes or less because they had that super nice sports car that cracked me up. I was just laughing this morning, and my co-founder Jack was like, "What are you laughing at?" I'm like, "You gotta check this out." And then recently you did the burger chains, right, where they replaced, they went in, the same crew or the same archetype crew went in and replaced drinks with Pepsi. So you got pizza and burgers. So that's the first two. Are there going to be more to come that we can expect maybe?
There's more to come. There's more to come.
Nice.
A lot more to come. That's right.
I like it. It's clean. It makes sense. It's on strategy, which we like. It's on brand, which you probably like. And
Yes.
that's, that's signs of a good agency and client relationship.
I think that's absolutely right. We are really appreciative. Emily at BBDO cracked this strategy really quickly for us. Peter Kane and his team have done a phenomenal job. And we push each other. If they don't agree with the feedback, you can bet I'm getting a call within 20 minutes to talk it out. And so that, I think, has led to some really great work, some really fast work. These are really nimble shoots, and we turn them around very quickly. And it's rewarding to see that those big creative swings pay off.
Gotcha. Well, we can talk more about that. I just want to know a little bit more about what it's like working on the brand side at Pepsi. So you're the head of Pepsi Brand Marketing. Is there an in-house agency of sorts, or is it just the marketing team working with external agencies? Can you give us like a lay of the land of what it's like to work on your team?
There is. So, again, part of what's fun about Pepsi is that we have incredible resources, incredible partners. Our total Pepsi team, when we all get together at the corporate headquarter amphitheater, is almost 200 people that work on Pepsi every single day. And so that's internal brand team, that's internal partners like our Hispanic marketing team or our food service marketing team. It includes agencies like BBDO and Vayner and OMD. And then it does include our internal studio creative agency. So they are great both at making work for us and at building on work with agency partners. And so Lou Arbetter heads up creative across beverages, and he's been an amazing partner making sure we push the work and that everything is communicating what we really want it to.
Gotcha. And then what would be like a junior level position in the marketing team? What would that be called? What can people look out for if there's a position that opens up? What should they be searching? Or they like this type of role, maybe at different brands? What are some of those keywords that they should be looking for the entry-ish level?
Yeah, so at PepsiCo, we hire in as marketing associate analysts, which is where I started my career, and then marketing analysts, and then on to associate brand managers and brand managers, all the way up to director and beyond. So there are a lot of roles at a lot of levels, and it helps to find a friend within the company that can help you navigate it. But I think PepsiCo is an amazing training ground. It's known as an academy company, not just for marketing, but for leadership. And we have a lot of incredible talent that comes in straight out of school, and that it's amazing to nurture and see them grow and flourish and add a ton of value.
Nice. Yes. And what are, I guess, like, what is like an easy, like, couple skill sets that you might need to like break in and thrive in working at Pepsi brand, like in the Pepsi brand marketing division specifically? Like, what are you looking for? What are those traits that really help?
I'm looking for somebody who loves people and loves brands and wants to influence human behavior, both in the office and as their job. So when I interview, I'm really looking for passion. Like, what ads are you interested in? What brands are reaching you effectively? What lights you up? And I think some people think marketing could be a backup to consulting or banking, and that's just not true. It's its own thing and its own passion and its own craft. And so we want people who really live and breathe brands. I don't think you need to have studied something in particular. I think we're looking for curiosity and an ability to learn, a balance of left brain and right brain, because you do need to be able to use Excel and analyze a scorecard and pull out what's happening with Diet Pepsi 2 liters in Minnesota this week and understand that kind of detail. But you also need to be able to zoom out and give an opinion on casting or scripts or whether something's funny. And particularly when we're hiring entry-level people, I want you to be in and of the culture, and I want you to be bringing what you're seeing outside of work to the office. So I think at our best at Pepsi, we are creators of culture, and I need a team that really knows what's going on in order to do that effectively.
Gotcha. Love it. So let's kick it back and understand how you broke into this world. So, and I believe, if I remember correctly, if I'm checking correctly, you have some agency experience as well in your past. So I'd love to
That's
figure
right.
out how you broke into this world, touch upon agency life, going into brand side, if that is accurate. So the first question, Jenny, is at what point in your life did you realize that you wanted to make ads or be a part of the ad making process for a living?
So my parents would tell you that this started in like fourth grade. Me and my best friend used to record fake radio ads, on cassette tapes on our boombox. And so I'm not even really sure where the interest started, but I've always been interested in advertising. I've always been interested in why people do what they do. I went to college, started as a psychology major because I was interested in that, and then switched to economics because I was interested in how people responded to incentives and how that psychology translated to actual behavior, and specifically behavioral economics, because we are not, in fact, rational beings. People make decisions that don't always play out from a math perspective. So that's what I was studying, but I was at Williams College, which also has a focus on art history and social sciences, and so I've always been a ballet dancer, and the arts and the sciences combining together is really what I was focused on. So I got lucky enough that a Williams alum had founded Gardner Nelson and Partners, and I got to do a short internship there in strategy and copywriting and really caught the advertising bug. And then I spent a summer at Jack Morton, which is an IPG company in Boston. And thank you to Christine Santos, who put up with me as an intern when I was so overeager and so excited and wanted to do so much. And I loved it. And I thought I would go into advertising and that I would be a copywriter, which flash forward probably makes me a nightmare of a client that I'm like, don't I know how to do this? No, I absolutely do not know how to do this after one summer as a copywriter. I learned enough to respect the industry. But I graduated into a recession. It was not a good time to find a job and not a good time specifically in advertising. And so as much as I wanted to go back to the places that had me intern, it just wasn't going to happen at that time. So I got really, really lucky that Indra Nooyi was the CEO of PepsiCo. And she said, all of our brands are targeting, millennials at the time. And not that many of them work here. Can we go find some? And so Pepsi had historically only hired MBAs into brand marketing, but they went and brought in their first class of undergraduate hires. And, after a few rounds of interviews and a super day at headquarters, I was lucky enough to be part of that. And so we were a little bit of pioneers within this really big legacy company. Some of my best friends in the world I met in that start class, and it's been an amazing training. And then 15 years later, getting to lead the name on the door is a pretty incredible career.
Dang. Okay. So let's back it up because there's some, I guess there's like some parallels in the workforce today, like kind of in the post-pandemic. It's like still a little shaky sometimes for the creative industry, and I'm not sure on the marketing side, but jobs are hard to come by, especially when I graduated around 2020. Very difficult. So how did you find out about Pepsi hiring? Was it PepsiCo or Pepsi specifically?
PepsiCo. So they were hiring for their Chicago office, which is where our Gatorade and Quaker businesses sit, for Plano, which is where our Frito-Lay business is, and then for beverages in New York.
Gotcha. So how did you find out or hear that they were hiring you mentioned non-MBA grads, like for the first time or for, in recent history? How did you find out about this?
So first I'll say, if you're in this position, if you're a graduating senior or recent grad and you're looking for a job and it's so stressful, just remember you only need one. You just need one job. It's okay. You're going to find the one. But I stayed really close to our college counselors, and the Pepsi post, I think it honestly went up on a Friday and the applications were due on Monday. So I got really lucky that I was in the portal every day looking for what was available in marketing and advertising. And, our college counselor, Robin, actually had to tell me to go buy an interview suit. So I had to ditch classes one day and drive to the outlet mall that was an hour away and buy my first outlet Brooks Brothers suit that I wore to my Pepsi interview and probably never again. But I think you do have to take the process seriously, voice your enthusiasm. It was easy for me to get excited about Pepsi and this opportunity. But keep your nose to the ground and make sure that everyone knows what you're looking for. I think that's the other piece, that I was close to the counselors. They could flag it to me. And then I was ready. I had my resume and my application materials, and I knew how to interview, and really jumped at the opportunity.
Got it. And there's a super day. So that's got to be stressful. Anytime I hear super day, I think like investment banking or like consulting, and like very intimidating. It's like, what was that process like when you did that?
So I had spent my junior year abroad at the London School of Economics, and I thought I might go into private equity. I do like numbers. And so I had been to several super days, including one where I actually told the interviewer, I'm just not sure I want to go into finance, which really should have been my own red flag. Hey, maybe we're wasting everybody's time here. So by the time I was at PepsiCo headquarters, and it's intimidating. It's a beautiful building. They had just refreshed the new logo. The banners were hanging everywhere. I think even the train I took to get to the interview had Pepsi logos wrapping it. It was incredible. You're really part of something when you walk into PepsiCo headquarters. But I had done this. I had dressed up and interviewed and done case studies, and I was less worried about the content. I just really wanted to make sure that they could get to know me, we could see if it was a mutual fit, and that they knew I wanted the job. So I told the head of HR who was leading the interview process, like, please tell me if you have any concerns, because I want this job. I love these brands. I know I want to be a marketer. And I think that went a long way.
Yeah. For the listeners, I hope you haven't seen this, but I've seen this a couple times, or some conversations where in some interviews, the applicant, they're not exactly sure if they want to go into, advertising and creativity. They're not sure what role they want. They're not exuding enthusiasm for the specific role in that company. So those are like essentials. Like that's the foundation. Get excited, do your homework, show up with being well researched, and have that excitement. I think, that's necessary. You don't see, I'm surprised I haven't seen it in all the interviews I've done.
Yeah, I think you see it immediately. And I do think some people are just nervous, or they think they should be formal. But marketing and advertising, these are creative industries. You need to be comfortable. I think fear and creativity cannot coexist. And so you need to show that you are confident enough that you'll be able to bat around ideas and you'll be able to push back, and you are going to light up the office. So, if you're excited about a job, I say go for it. Like, the worst outcome is that you had an interesting conversation with the interviewer and you don't get it, but you're going to learn something. You're going to be better prepared for the next one. And I do think just make sure you've done your research and you're showing the best of yourself.
Got it. So it worked for you. So you got through that super day and you get placed. And tell us about that first job.
That first job, I was a marketing analyst on hydration innovation, which my friends did not think it was a real job because it rhymed.
I love that title. That's awesome. Yeah. It could be a nickname, I think.
Hydration innovation. And so I got to work on Sobe Life Water, which at the time was growing like crazy. That category of enhanced waters was up. I absolutely loved innovation because I got to work with so many partners. So I got to go to the R&D lab and understand new ingredients like new vitamins or coconut waters that we could put in. I got to go to a Gatorade plant and understand how we produced the product. I got to work with graphic designers on the labels. We got to work with insights and develop shop-alongs, and then you hand it to the brand team and launch the product out into the world. And it's super cool to walk down a grocery store shelf and say, hey, I made that thing. So I also worked on what became Life Water, which is great to still see that. Nice. And buy that. It was just a really fun job and a great education in what makes PepsiCo the best at marketing and innovation. And we really do have world-class R&D partners. So I really valued that experience and really fell in love with innovation and growth.
Nice. So you've been there for 15 years or 15 and a half years since then, that first job. I guess my question is that, like, did you catch the bug early on? Did you know that you were going to be in this for the long term right away, or did you have to learn to love like being in this system, this setting? Can you talk about that like first year and your like long term plan?
That first year, I think I was really lucky that I had an amazing start class. And I would give this as advice to everyone and starting your career, invest in your peers. They are so helpful. I think people know that they should manage up, that they should find a mentor, but the people that are your peers, you're going to work with them forever and they're all going to go off and do other things. And so, we all lived in New York City and we commuted to Westchester on Metro North or on a bus. And it was an incredible bonding experience. And I mean, truly, two of my bridesmaids are women that I met that first day at PepsiCo. And I think those friendships are what really made work exciting, because not only did I get to work on what I was working on, which was fun and amazing and incredible training, but I got to hear what they were working on and how it was the same or different. And it gave me a better holistic sense of what a career at PepsiCo could really be. So if things are a little bit tough or new or challenging, I would suggest you find your people, because not only can they tell you, how to set up your voicemail or run a scorecard, but they'll show you what other creative things you can do too.
What is a scorecard? You said a couple times now. I don't know what that is.
A scorecard. So they're normally Excel based or some kind of dashboard that pulls in the most important business metrics. And so we look at them weekly in our industry. That's about as often as sales data comes out, and talk about what's new or the same, and if there's anything that we can do to continue to drive growth. But it's a great training ground. So this is something that, junior people in advertising might not see the scorecard, but I guarantee you your client has one, and it'll probably get you some brownie points if you ask to see it. So we have a monthly interagency team meeting. Ours is actually later today. And now we start it with a business review, and somebody walks everybody through the scorecard so that they understand what we're trying to accomplish on the brand.
Gotcha. Okay. That's a little, that's a good insight for the agency folks out there. Got it. So know the score, or ask about the scorecard.
You can ask. And if you're junior on the marketing side, I always say, do the scorecard, be the scorecard person. Like, it might not be the sexiest thing, but I don't think you're going to go far in marketing if you don't understand those metrics.
Could I create an internal, like, daily 5-minute podcast with you about Pepsi scorecard of the day? Like, here are the high level things.
I would love nothing more. Everyone knows I start all of our team meetings. First, we do a consumer check, like, hey, what ads are you seeing? What consumer trends are you seeing? We just geeked out about the new Starbucks holiday card or holiday cups on one. And then we do a business review. And whether it's fun or not, it's really important that we understand that is what we're trying to drive with our creativity.
Got it. So back to the career progression. I guess, like, what were some of those big jumps, lateral moves or promotions, decisions that you made? Like, what are the tentpole moments now at PepsiCo that you look back and like, that was a good call? I'm glad I did that we can learn from.
Lots of decisions and lots of really incredible stretch experiences. So starting out, the company tends to rotate you quickly. So I went from hydration innovation to the Mountain Dew brand team, where I was the scorecard person. And I also ran the social media. And I ran social media from my phone. So if you tweeted at Mountain Dew in like 2010, it was me responding to you, which now is, crazy with all of our layers of approvals and dashboards and all the fun things that you can do on social. But it was a really amazing training in what a brand team does. And Mountain Dew is a brand that people love. I think there are probably as many Mountain Dew tattoos as Harley Davidson tattoos. It's really an incredible, passionate fan base. Then I went from there to our Walmart shopper marketing team, which was a real privilege to work on Walmart. I absolutely loved that job. I got to spend a lot of time in Bentonville. We have incredible sales leads on that account. Again, learned a ton about CPG, Walmart, how America shops. And then I took my first big risk and I stepped out of the marketing department and went to corporate strategy. So corporate strategy is basically an in-house consulting team. Everyone on the team was an ex-consultant. It was led by Tekla Back, who is I think, a certified genius, lots of McKinsey alums, and then me. And so they taught me how to do a deep dive into business, how to write a compelling strategy deck, how to tease out what really matters and what will drive billion-dollar opportunities for PepsiCo. And I taught them how we deliver beverages to store and really the nitty gritty of how these decisions that they were making at the top in the boardroom filtered down to roles like I had had on the brand team. But I got a lot of mixed advice before I took that leap. And I think this is another thing I pass forward. Sometimes the value of advice is your reaction to it. And so there were people that I admired their career and they said I would absolutely go take that stretch and demonstrate hard business skills and that you can understand what drives a company like PepsiCo and its results on Wall Street. And there were others who were like, that sounds like no fun. Why would you do that? And my reaction to that was, I think it is going to be fun. And I want to go learn from these people who have a different skill set than I do right now. So I did that for about a year and a half. I got to go to Shanghai. I got to go to Baltwash and do a deep dive on convenience store share. I did things that marketing never would have let me had access to. And then I did decide pretty quickly that my heart was with the consumer and I wanted to be back in the marketing side. And I was able to get pulled back. And that was actually my first time on the Pepsi brand team, was right after corporate strategy. But I was better at that job because I understood the role that the Pepsi brand played within the larger corporate organization.
This is mind blowing. Learning about like the structures and how this thing operates, and for all these decisions, and like, I guess, like you said, they rotated you around in the beginning. Is that like something that you have say in, or is it just like how the management like structures you within the organization? Can you elaborate on like the flexibility to shift around and like what are the best practices if somebody wants to?
Yeah, so this is certainly not an official talking point, but the experience felt like a combination of, Fortune 50 HR process and sorority rush. Like, it was, you could express an interest. It might get taken into account. It might not. But I do tell people, go have those conversations of, hey, maybe, for me, I was on innovation, but I want to sit at the center of the brand wheel and understand what that looks like. And so the move from innovation to the Mountain Dew brand team gave me that. But then it was, hey, I think you need a customer experience. You need a commercial experience. You need to understand how products get to stores, how we set margin, how we make money. And being up for a holistic experience and something that will stretch you and give you new insight, I think is really powerful, especially at the beginning of your career. I think in the long term, we talk about T-shaped people who have both breadth and depth. And so at some point you'll build your expertise in whatever vertical you want. But to have that breadth and stretch and understand, every day I draw on my Walmart experience and I push the team on, are we reaching the Walmart shopper? And are we doing enough in store? And do we understand the power of channels like that? So I would take the risk. I'd take the leap. I'd make sure that you're getting the most out of your early career days, when it might feel like a big risk, but it's probably not too big a risk. It's going to pay off.
Gotcha. See, if I started in a cohort at PepsiCo, I would just probably look at your LinkedIn and just follow like that path. I'll just like try to just copy it. I wouldn't know where to go.
With you. I know. I try not to project when I'm giving advice, but it's hard. I think
Well,
I've been lucky. Good choices.
Totally. And that's like something that's why I love these interviews, because I get the agency world, but I'm learning about the brand side and the marketing side. So this is new to me. So that's how I would react right now. But so far, it sounds like you have a really good career progression here. So tell me then, getting on the Pepsi team, like when did you get there? And obviously it's been successful for you. So talk about that transition.
So after corporate strategy, I was on the Pepsi brand team, and then I worked on our Starbucks partnership, which is an incredible business. At the time, it was $2 billion. Now it's $3 billion. They're amazing partners. That's an amazing brand. It was, I spent a lot of time in Seattle. I learned how to do a proper pour over. I will always have a soft spot for that brand. And then I took another risk and I went to our internal incubator, which was called The Hive. So The Hive was dedicated to new brands, new products, new business models. We did some acquisition, we did some venturing. And then because I had done this new brand experience, I was able to work on what became Starry. So we were looking to get more competitive within the lemon lime soda category. And I led that upfront work and actually worked with another podcast guest of yours, Daniel Wadia, to build that brand. And as Starry was launching, sort of like, what's next? And I got tapped to come lead Pepsi communications and advertising. And that's a job you don't say no to. This is
No.
why, I talk to my mentors like, hey, I've been on Pepsi. Should I do it again? And it was, yes, when you're retired and having drinks on a pool raft, this is the job you will talk about. And it has been. We get to make incredible culturally relevant work. We get, how Pepsi goes, so goes PepsiCo. The chance to nurture a team of talent. I get to work with the best marketers in the world. It's really been a joy. So it's been 2.5 years back in this seat, and I feel like we're just getting started.
Love it. Incredible. So real quick, just to clarify, and then we can get into final advice and lessons here. So you were at the Hive, which is like this innovation incubator, new products like launching. Is that correct?
That's right. And that lasted 6 months. And then there was a reorg, as these things go at big companies, and
Yeah.
we got pulled back to headquarters. So then it morphed into a new brands and new platforms job. So we launched things like Driftwell, which was a sleep beverage that went absolutely viral, and Soul Boost, which was a healthy seltzer. And then that led to my work on Starry.
Got it. Got it. Wonderful. So I guess looking back, we already covered a lot of good lessons here. I guess so if you were talking to a young Jenny starting out today and maybe in 2024, what advice would you tell her as she's breaking into marketing at PepsiCo?
I've got a lot. Be curious. The other great advice I got was pay yourself first. So make sure you're getting out of every job what you want out of it. And I tell my team this too. Like, what do you need out of your time on Pepsi? Do you need to go to a shoot? Do you need to manage an agency? Do you need to understand how we work with our divisions? And make sure you're getting those opportunities and raising your hands for those things. And I would also say, get your hands dirty. Don't be shy to follow the money, the opportunity, the priority, even if it's not where you think your heart lies. I think being set up to work on big things that can make big changes, that will position you for longer term success.
Love it. Love it. And what advice would you have for agency professionals to
Ask
better their
about the
relationship?
scorecard.
Yeah, ask them about the scorecard. I gotta see.
No, I mean, the agency
scorecard.
stuff is the fun stuff. And actually, for the first year I was at PepsiCo, I still thought I might go back agency side because it's so fun to be in that creative environment, to work across a portfolio, to work on multiple projects. I would say, again, invest in your peers, but also in mentors. And I think whichever side you're on, if you're at a big company, they have the tools to train you. And I would make sure that you're taking advantage of that because that will pay you your whole career. You want to make sure that you're building those skills early.
Totally. Totally. And I just had another thought. I would be foolish if I didn't ask, like the MBA track, is that still relevant? Like, what's the state, just as an industry, like, I guess, have you seen it being more relevant today? Do you recommend that path for people that are trying to break into marketing? What's the take there?
So I did not go back to get my MBA. I had majored in economics, and for me, corporate strategy was sort of my answer to that. I do think of myself as, a GM mindset. So the business side is important to me, but I was already doing what I loved at PepsiCo, and everyone I met at business school mixers was going to school to get my job. And so when I really looked in the mirror, it wasn't something that made sense for me. I don't think it's something that you need to succeed, but I do think it has real value. And I think once you realize you don't need it, that is when you figure out what the value is. So, hey, I want to expand my network geographically, or I do want to go learn about accounting, or maybe I want to switch careers. I think if you're at all curious about it, I always tell people to look into it and take it seriously, because I have seen friends who really loved and appreciated that experience. For me, the reason I was thinking about it was to expand my network. And so what I did instead was team up with my friend Maggie Connors, and we started having professional women dinner parties every month in New York City. So I said, I want to go for a network, but I'm living in New York City, the best network in the world. Why don't we just do it ourselves? And now we both live in LA and we had one here. And I would just figure out, what is it that's going to serve you about it? And do you need the business school degree? Maybe you do, or maybe not.
Okay. Wonderful. Well, Jenny, thank you so much for sharing your story, your advice. It's been wonderful. How can people connect with you? If they have questions, they want to say hello, what's the best route?
Feel free to find me on LinkedIn, Jenny Danzi. You can send me a message, but I'm going to ask that if you do that, you lead with what brand or what advertising campaign you are currently geeking out on. I want to hear what makes you excited about this industry.
Boom. Love it. Love it. And then any portal they should check out for job openings, just what should they Google, keywords?
PepsiCo Careers, and make sure you're following us on LinkedIn and on social. There's always lots of opportunities.
Boom. Jenny, amazing job. Thank you so much again.
Thank you, Geno. This was really fun.
Of course.